It's a car video. I'm sat on a village green in Bedfordshire, waiting. I mean, I'm always waiting for somebody. I'm literally always waiting for somebody to have an appointment. And today I'm in Bedford, sat on a village green. And on our way to Bedford for our appointment, we listened to the Today programme, and Bridget Phillipson was talking to Amal Rajan. I mean, you can just imagine. For a start, I've noticed it with every single Labour spokesman MP. Every time they go on the radio or the television, they say, well, your viewers will know. Well, your listeners will agree that. Well, your listeners will understand. I mean, what assumption? What absolute collusive assumption. They are trying to infer that we are in agreement with them. Your viewers will know, your viewers will have heard, your viewers will have seen, your listeners will understand. Fuck off. No, actually, no. I mean, I'm sure there's 3 viewers to GB News and 6 viewers to ITV News and maybe 1 listener on the Today programme that will agree with what's coming out of your mouths. But please do not assume that your viewers, and it's this sort of real power shift. We must show that we're in control of this, and your viewers they're with us. It's the majority, and to speak on behalf of people to try and give the impression that this is what we all think is coercive, in my humble opinion. So we've got that's the first thing that really irritated me. Then the second thing that irritates me is just trotting out the same old lines. And it doesn't matter whether you're listening to the Today programme or GB News or the BBC, it makes no difference. The politicians trot out the same lines as each other. They've all been to the same media training. They've all been told what taglines they've got to say, and they say them. It is bingo. And I am staggered with the lack of empathy and real understanding of the electorate as they trot this stuff out. So the big thing at the minute is we've lifted 450,000 children out of poverty by lifting the 2-child cap. So the government tells us. What they don't tell us is how many people are now going into poverty because of that. What they don't tell us is how many people, because of the new tax constraints on them, will be going further into poverty and to food banks. But what they will tell you, so that you are guilted into feeling bad for not supporting lifting the 2-child cap, is that we are lifting 450,000 children out of poverty, which we are then, off the back of that, saying how that's going to improve schools and help school budgets. We don't have any data to prove this. We don't have any stats to prove this. We just have their word for it. And if we were to dare say, I don't agree with lifting the 2-child cap, I fully agree with getting children out of poverty. I wish children weren't in poverty to be lifted out of it. And I fully agree that this is absolutely not the children's fault. However, do I feel that putting more children into poverty by imposing more tax measures on their parents is the way to do it? No. Can we afford it as a country? No. Do we have the money in the bank to be able to lift the 2-child cap? No. Are there other measures that we could make to support those children and those families and help them get out of poverty? Yes. I mean, do we think that unemployment and the rise in unemployment is helping those families? No, we do not. Do we feel like families who were just about trying to make ends meet and were definitely on the heating or eating, and now that's not even a choice? It's not even on Monday, shall we put the heating on or shall we eat? It's we just need to eat. We can't even contemplate putting the heating on. For many families, that is the stark reality. Yet here we are making sweeping assumptions and going against manifesto pledges, which Keir Starmer says he will not apologise for doing that because he's lifted 450,000 children out of poverty. Because that's the only defence in his mind that he's got for putting more families into poverty. And we're not talking about the pensioners that are going into poverty. We're not talking about the farmers that are going into poverty. We're not talking about any of those. We're just going to talk about lifting these 450,000 children out of poverty, even though we do not have the funding to do so. And we have not recognised the other areas that we could be using and supporting these children with. But instead, we're highlighting the fact that, well, we're not highlighting, we're glossing over the fact that we've broken manifesto pledges to fund a welfare bill that we cannot afford. And they are the bare bones of it. And so you get into this moral humdrum of people sort of, how dare you say that you wouldn't want to support a child? How dare you say that lifting children out of poverty is not something that we should all be striving for? Well, of course it is. I mean, that's just stating the bleeding obvious, isn't it? Of course it is. But are we doing it in the right way? And let's address the elephant in the room with this. Let's address what Kemi Badenoch has been absolutely slated for and what people are talking about around the kitchen table and over fences and in the school playground and in the queue to get their frozen prescription, which is the other thing. We've frozen prescription charges, we've frozen rail fare, we've given people 150 quid off their energy bills. Well, what you've done is chosen some big headlines so that it can look like you're doing something. But when we drill it down as to how many people actually pay their prescription charges and how many people will actually benefit from the freezing of the rail fares, you'll see that it's a tiny, tiny sector in society, and it goes nowhere to funding lifting the 2-child cap. It goes nowhere to saving actual meaningful money for people. What it does is save a few pence here and a few pence there, which at this point, we're grateful for crumbs, aren't we? We're putting our hands out, please sir, can I have more? Because any kind of saving is better than no saving for sure. But we are talking about pathetic, insulting, tiny crumbs rather than anything that will actually make a difference to our lives. But we are making a difference to other people's lives who don't feel the inclination to make a difference to their own lives. Is a roundabout way of saying there are genuine cases where people need welfare support, but there is a distinct rise in people taking support who have no intention of helping themselves. You know it, I know it, they know it, we all know it, but we're not allowed to say it, because if we say it, we are morally corrupt. We are the bad people. We are cold-hearted. We are all the negative connotations you could have surrounding that. But what we're doing is speaking our truth. What we're doing is saying, of course, we don't want any child in poverty. We don't want any pensioner in poverty. We don't want we don't want anyone in poverty. We live in the United Kingdom in 2025. It should not be. We're not a third world country. We should not really even be having these conversations, yet we are. And of course, successive governments all had their part to play. I am sick to death of 14 years. I am so done with that. They've been in power for 14 months now. Just start making choices based on economic outlook for this country right now. We have got to stop the 14 years shit. Sorry, but that really does get my goat. And all we're getting is deflection, denial, and projection. We're not actually getting engagement with the electorate about what they want, what they feel, what they can afford, what they can't afford, what struggles they're facing. We're not getting any of that. We're just getting backbenchers and trade unions pulling the strings and telling the frontbenchers what they need, what they want, what they demand. Otherwise, they will withdraw support. Well, the British people are withdrawing support, and if you were to see the opinion polls, there is very little / no support for the Labour Party. The problem we've got is, where do we go with this? The problem we've got is, how in the name of God are we going to survive the next few years with this economically illiterate lot in charge who have zero capacity to engage with the actual British public? We talk a lot about your viewers will agree with, your viewers will know, your viewers, all the assumptions, all the judgments on what they think we need or want. They couldn't be further from the truth. And people say to me on this channel a lot, oh, you should go into politics, Anna. And I always respond with, absolutely not. I could never work with them. I couldn't work with that in that environment with those people as my colleagues. But I tell you what, if the 51,000 people on this YouTube channel come with me, then I'm in. Because it's just, we have to draw a line between this gaslighting and this desire not to see what's going on in the UK so that we can promote our own careers. I mean, it's extraordinary how two people at the top of the tree, and I talk Starmer and Reeves, are prepared to put an entire nation under the bus for their own political career. And we appear to think that's okay. Every single news outlet this morning is addressing the fact that taxes have been raised for the working person. Every single news outlet is saying this has been a complete dereliction of duty and betrayal of the voting public. Every economist has said it makes no sense. Every economist has said this is tactical politically, it is not tactical economically. I haven't heard any meaningful support for this budget. Yet, like Teflon, it doesn't stick for the people making the choices. They're simply not interested. They trot out for every media outlet the same answers and the same responses, and they're not even unique to the minister giving them. They're not even unique to Bridget Phillipson or Keir Starmer or Rachel Reeves. They're all saying exactly the same thing, regardless of department, regardless of role in Parliament. And Rachel Maskell today was trying in some way to defend the Labour Party while saying you've completely broken manifesto pledge. But even she, with putting her neck on the line and saying they've broken manifesto pledge, even she then reverts to the safety of what she's been told to say. I mean, it's just staggering. They sound like robots. They look like robots. They behave like robots. They are pre-programmed to a very different narrative to that of the British people. And it is extraordinary, frustrating, terrifying, and arguably dystopian. Now, we have a lot of, well, what's the opposition? And we're not hearing much from Nigel Farage. I'm deeply disappointed in Reform, deeply disappointed in their lack of accountability to this budget. And I feel like all the work that they put in to offer a credible opposition has just gone up in smoke. Because where are they? What are they saying? And they cannot argue with the media outlets aren't giving us any time, because they can do exactly what I do and go independent. So they cannot argue that. And I am genuinely disappointed. I am genuinely impressed with Kemi Badenoch, who I think has actually said it how it is. And for the first time out of this whole sorry mess, I have seen a credible opposition in the Conservative Party that I would chance my arm on. Because where they have got a lot that they cocked up, they have drawn a line. And we cannot keep saying, because you made such a hash of it for the past 14 years, despite the fact that the people at the top aren't the same and the policies aren't the same and the direction isn't the same, we're not going to give you another go. At the minute, I don't think we have a choice. I genuinely don't think we have a choice. I'd like to see Mr. Farage come back with something. I'd like to see Reform come back with something and prove me wrong. I'd like to see... No, I wouldn't like to see the Greens do that, because they're not doing that. They're too busy cocking it up internally. But I feel like we've got to stop just moaning about what we've got at the top. We've got to just stop slamming Labour for what we've got, and we've got to start putting our weight behind something credible and moving on from the past. We cannot attack Labour, who are constantly saying it's the past 14 years, it's the past 14 years, it's all their fault, whilst then going, well, I'm not going to vote for that one because of the past 14 years. If we're asking them to move on, we need to move on as well. I think we owe it to ourselves as a country to move on. And whether we move on in the direction of Reform or whether we move on in the direction of the Conservatives, we've got to do it. We've got to either shit or get off the pot. And sorry, that's a gross phrase, but it's the only one I can think of at the minute that actually makes sense. We've got to start actually doing something about this. And if you're not a Conservative supporter, fine, brilliant. I mean, I couldn't give two hoots. And at the minute, we're not in a position where we are at a general election, so every man for themselves. But we've got to start investing in something other than what we've got, and we've got to start demanding change, and we've got to start putting our weight behind a party and saying, let's do this, let's go. And we can't dredge the past with us every which way and how. If we're not going to accept that from Labour, then we cannot accept that from ourselves. We have to start saying, right, here is the slate, we've wiped it clean, let's have a look at what's on the table, let's have a look at what the Greens are offering, let's have a look at what Lib Dems are offering, let's have a look at what the Tories are offering, let's have a look at what Reform are offering, and then let's go with one. And sorry, my frustration is coming out now, but I just really feel as though all of us need to get a grip on any alternative than what we've got. And once we've got to that point, let's back them. Because otherwise, we really are going to be left with this absolute shit show for, I dread to think, I actually dread to think. Here endeth my Friday morning on a village green sermon. It was nice. Yes, I'm in the Land Rover. The other one is on the market. You can find it on Auto Trader. Please, somebody buy it. It's actually in perfect condition. And no, I'm no closer to my Hilux because I still haven't sold these two. Yes, I did see the High Peak Motors Mitsubishi. Yep. It's there. But I can't buy it until I've sold one of these. So if anybody knows anyone that would like to buy a Land Rover Discovery Sport or a Land Rover Discovery 4, then get in touch. Perhaps the Sport, maybe not this one so much.